All right, South Philly, good morning, everyone. My name is Nikil Saval. I represent the 1st Senatorial District in the Pennsylvania Senate. It's just a joy to be here with all of you today. And we are all proud to be welcoming a special guest to South Philadelphia, the former mayor of Braddock, Pennsylvania, our Lieutenant Governor, and the next U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania, John Fetterman. We have a number of people. I just want everyone to thank them collectively. We have a number of my colleagues from city and state government, and in the audience, we have a bunch of people from organized labor. Let's give everyone a hand. Before we bring on the Lieutenant Governor, and because Lieutenant Governor is kind of a mouthful, and because I'm pretty certain he's not the kind of guy who cares much for titles, I'll just call him John, if that's okay. I'd just like to talk a little bit about why I have voted for John Fetterman in every election he has run for. I didn't know John when I came to the Senate in 2021, but I knew of him. I knew him when he ran for Senate in 2016 as someone totally outside the political establishment, who had returned to his small hometown to fight as a mayor for those left out of the narrative of American progress. Laid off workers screwed by greedy corporations that took jobs out of the community, black and brown residents crushed by gun violence and mass incarceration, everyone hurt by the crisis of opioid and drug dependency. He was one of the only elected officials I'd heard of who carried around Narcan in order to revive anyone who might be suffering from an overdose. I knew him as a lieutenant governor, when he was lieutenant governor, as someone who reformed the Board of Pardons to ensure more incarcerated people had a second chance in life. And who has used his platform to push for common sense legalization of adult use cannabis and to push for organized labor because the union way of life should be the American way of life. But one thing I did not fully know when I came to the Senate in January 2021 is how much John would put himself at risk for the sake of others. The day I was sworn in, January 5th, 2021, the Republican side of the Pennsylvania Senate decided they were not going to seat one of my colleagues from John's side of the state, even though this colleague of mine had won his election. The Republicans just didn't want to accept that. Probably sounds a little familiar. And John's job as lieutenant governor is in part to preside over the Pennsylvania Senate. So when the Republican senators got up, said they weren't going to seat this colleague from Western PA, John got up too and said that he wasn't going to preside over this total anti-democratic charade. The Republicans refused to seat a duly elected senator, and John refused to go along with it. And for that, Senate security physically had to remove John from the Senate. He stood up for what was right, and he literally put his body on the line for democracy. Remember, that was January 5th in Harrisburg. And we all know what happened the next day, January 6th. In Washington. Both of those days showed us which side the Republican Party was on, the side of repressing and denying the votes of the American people. But in the last 2 years, we have seen which side the U.S. Senate under the Democratic Party has been on. In the last 2 years, the U.S. Senate has delivered spectacular victories. The largest recovery plan in American history, which has put thousands of dollars in people's pockets, kept them in their homes, and kept thousands and thousands of Pennsylvanians alive, and the largest plan to fight climate change in American history, which will keep future generations of Pennsylvanians, many young members, I'm so glad to see it, are gathered here today, will keep them alive and fighting for a better future. In the midst of a deadly pandemic and an existential environmental crisis, the Democratic Senate delivered. But let's all remember, not a single Republican senator voted for those bills. Not a single Republican senator voted to save lives, present or future. And how do you think Dr. Oz is going to vote? John would be a Democratic senator from Pennsylvania that we can count on for sure. But I know that John will be more. I know that he will be a great senator. Because John is one of us, someone who believes that democracy is sustained by the grassroots, someone who is fighting for every vote in every county in our state, in our small and big towns, with workers fighting for a fair wage, and in people who just want a second chance in life. This is the moral vision at the heart of what John has done every day of his life and what he will do as a senator. We need someone who will put their body on the line for democracy. We need John Fetterman. And now it is my great honor to introduce my dear friend and colleague, someone who has fought every day for democracy herself, who also believes that democracy is sustained by the grassroots, also believes in workers fighting for a fair wage, my friend, my colleague, a champion, State Representative Elizabeth Fiedler.
Night, right? We're feeling good this morning, maybe a little tired, but that won't let us stop, right? Am I right? Thank you so much, Nikil. It's really my honor to be here today. I am so proud to be here with you in Dickinson Square Park with our special guest here in the heart of South Philadelphia. Let's give him a loud cheer so he knows we are glad he made the trip. We are so glad to have this special guest here with us this morning to launch the largest canvass of the entire South Philly voter project. Largest canvas. How many people does that mean, do you think? 20, 30, 40 canvassers? 85? Even more than that? We are over 90, almost at 100 canvassers today. I am especially excited to welcome our special guest here to this park. It's my neighborhood park. It's where I come with my kids. They're over there, playing on the playground. It's where I go for walks with friends. It's a place where I run into a lot of you and get to catch up. Talk about how you're doing and how we can work together. This park also holds special place in my heart because I stood right over there 5 years ago and announced I was running for State House. I mentioned that race because at the time I was seen as I was a former reporter. True. I was the mom of a toddler and a 3-month-old baby, at the time, a little baby. And I was a political outsider. I was someone who had never run for office and who had no interest in politics as usual. I was driven by the desire to serve my neighbors, to serve my community, and to try to make government work for everyone. Like I said, I was a political outsider, not so interested in politics as usual, seen at times as not the most obvious victor in a race. Does that remind you of anybody else who's joining us here today who is also going to win big in just a few weeks? Just over a month ago, we gathered here with Josh Shapiro. Anybody here there that day? We gathered with over 250 of our closest friends to welcome Pennsylvania's next governor and to kick off the South Philly Voter Project. And since that day, we have been busy, right? Our goal when we launched that voter project was to knock on 30,000 doors. Seems like a lot, right? I'll be honest. And since that time, are halfway there, and we have knocked, as of right now, we've knocked on over 15,000 doors, well on our way of beating that goal. I mentioned all those numbers, all that time that you all are giving up, right? You're giving up your Saturday morning, you're giving up your Sunday afternoons, sometimes you're giving up both. You're enduring all the hateful mail that's pouring into your mailbox and that's pouring into your home, right? Via the TV during the Phillies games. You're sitting with all of that and sometimes honestly trying to block the TV so your kids don't see what's on there because it's that bad, it's that hateful. It's that focused on destroying the things that we hold dear to us as parents, as human beings, as community leaders. And I know that's what motivates me, to give up my weekends, to give up my weeknights, and that's what motivates our whole team to be out here today. Who here is a committee person? Raise your hand. Let's have a round of applause. All right, committee people, put your hands back up if you would and keep them up there. I know you've been working your arms out on the door so you could do it. Who here is knocking a door? Who here has knocked a door in this election? Add your hands. Who here is knocking a door today? Who here has donated a hard-earned dollar, knocked on a door, made a phone call, or talked with a family member, especially one of those harder conversations where you're not sure how it's going to go? Who has put in the work to make sure that in just a few days we elect John Fetterman as our next senator? So I want to ask you a question. You all are out here. It's beautiful weather. What is the one issue that is driving you to give up your free time, to give up your nights, your weekends? Just shout it out. What's the one thing that is fueling you? Abortion rights, right? Union rights, the rights for workers to be able to form a union and bargain with the people they work with for better working conditions, for better wages, for the health care they deserve. Climate change? Absolutely, I see you.
Fully funded schools!
And fully funded schools. You know we won't end this speech without a shout out for public education. And voters' rights, most definitely. Because we know that John's opponent, we know that the GOP is dedicated. They are in overtime, trying to tear away voting rights, reproductive rights, workers' rights, trying to dismantle our public education system. And we are here this morning because we will not let that happen. I want to tell you a little bit about John. He was born to teenage parents who were just starting out on his own, and that is okay. His dad worked nights to put himself through school. And when John got a little bit older, he decided to take on the responsibility of mentoring an 8-year-old because he knew how important it was to have an adult in your life, to show you the way, to guide you, to mentor you, to listen to you. And that's what it's about, right? That's the conversation we have when we go out and knock on our neighbors' doors. We listen, and we do it from a place of compassion for our fellow human beings. We know that now things are very hard for a lot of people, right? People are struggling. The pandemic is not over, and they are still having a very hard time. And in many cases, that hard time preceded the pandemic. John knows that. His commitment to his fellow human beings continued through his service to his neighbors. And in 2005, and I still remember when I read this fact because I was a little surprised. In 2005, he took the next step to run for mayor, and he won by 1 vote. Whew. And now he continues his service to the entire Commonwealth as the Lieutenant Governor for our state. John operates from a place of compassion, and he believes what you believe and what I believe, which is workers should have the right to form a union. Women and all people should have a right to make decisions about their own bodies. Our votes should count when we go to the ballot box, and so much more. You deserve more, and John knows it, and he will go to D.C. to fight for all of us. It's my honor to be here with you all today to welcome Pennsylvania's next Senator, John Fetterman!
Philadelphia! Gosh. This is remarkable. I had no idea. I mean, I knew there was energy out here, but do you guys realize that it's Sunday morning? Don't you realize that there's a million other things you could be doing right now, but you're actually rallying right now? It's astonishing. It's truly astonishing. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here in support of this amazing ticket here. Now I'm running for the Senate to serve Pennsylvania. Oz is running to use Pennsylvania. He spent over $20 million of his own money. He believes he can buy this seat. No. Do you have lying around with $20 million to buy a seat? No. I don't think you can relate to Pennsylvanian average voter here. And another thing, I need an elephant in the room. You know, we had a stroke back in May. And it really... You
look great. You're invincible.
And despite all that, I survived to be back.
Yes.
And that makes I'm going to fight for you all because I'm back out on the trial. Thank you so much. And all of the work that you're willing to do is going to make a major change in making sure we have the best opportunity to flip this seat blue. The only reason I'm honored to be able to stand in front of you right now is that 17 years ago, I won my very first election by one single vote. That's the truth, one single vote, and that's really the story. And if one less person showed up that day, or one person one day said, you know what, it's not really that important, you know, I never would have the honor of being the mayor of my community of Braddock. I wouldn't have been able to be the honor of your lieutenant governor, and I certainly wouldn't be standing with you right now all across Pennsylvania and with all of you in this park right now. I'm so grateful. And the work that you're willing to do today and for the next 2 weeks before Election Day, that can make the difference to make sure we flip this seat. Send me, and this is really my bargain with all of you and my promise to each and every one of you. If you're looking for that 51st vote, if you're looking for that 51st vote, my promise to you is if I go there to eliminate the filibuster, get rid of it, we're going to fight to increase the minimum wage. You have somebody with 10 gigantic mansions who believes that $7.25 an hour is okay. I believe that there's all dignity in all work. So there must be a paycheck in every day with dignity as well, true. I've always gonna fight for the union way of life. This is a union town. Send me to Washington, D.C. to fight for the PRO Act, and that would be the kind of vote you can count on. We want to make sure we tax. You need to cut the taxes of working families and people in Pennsylvania and in the nation. Of course, Dr. Oz would only want to maintain the Trump corporate tax cuts. We want to protect Medicare and Social Security. And we need to expand healthcare. Healthcare is a basic fundamental right for every single person. Healthcare saved my life, and it should be there for each and every one of you anytime if you ever need it. Expanding the ACA, lowering the Medicare age. And we got to make sure we need to defend democracy, true. There is no voter fraud here. You know, they said that bad things happen in Philadelphia about that. In 2020, 7 million votes were cast. Do you know how much voter fraud there really was? Five. And you know what? It was 5 individuals using their deceased mother's ballots to vote for Donald Trump. They were all arrested, charged, and they're on probation for that. Do not believe the lie, and you need somebody that's going to stand up and fight for democracy. Marriage equality, too. Another thing. In 2013, I was the first and only elected official in Pennsylvania to solemnize a gay marriage. Tom Corbett, at the time governor, threatened to have me arrested. And I was like, if you know where I live, you can send the gay police to come get me. But to be on the right side of history, that's another thing I defend as your next senator. If anyone believes that a woman's reproductive freedom that choice belongs with Dr. Oz, you know who you can vote for. But if you believe that choice belongs with each woman and their doctor, what's their right choice? That's the person that's going to fight for that in this race. Give me the opportunity, we're going to vote to codify Roe v. Wade. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I've got one last favor from all of you. Make sure we send him back to New Jersey and send me to Washington, D.C. Thank you. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you.
Can we have another round of applause for our next U.S. Senator, John Fetterman? On behalf of Nikil, our staffs, and a few of our friends and neighbors, we want to thank you so much for coming to Philadelphia. And we promise you that we are going to put in the work during the remaining days to make sure that you win big in November. a children's arts and crafts table back there with amazing coloring pages. Please stop by and pick some up so you can show your love for John Fetterman in the window of your home. We have an ambitious goal this weekend, and it is to knock 6,000 doors. You think we got it? I've got to admit that game last night gives me hope. I think we do have it. It's going to take all of us. If you are signed up to Canvas, please head to the red tables at the back of the park to get your materials and get trained. If you cannot Canvas with us today, but after these inspiring speeches and a visit from our next Lieutenant Governor, you would like to volunteer in the future, head to the purple table over there. Now, are we ready? Are we fired up?
Fired up!
Can't take it no
Fired
more.
up!
Can't take it no more.
Fired up!
Can't take it no more.
Woo! All right, we got it.